Hello Oracles! Has Tesla stock finally hit the bottom? We bounced hard off of that $101 level, we've got some great news and seems like sentiment is starting to turn around. We're going to take a look at that, along with some news that we got from the Tesla China VP Tao Lin to discuss what is going on with the Tesla China price cuts. We will discuss that in a minute. Alright, so looking at the charts, we dove into them last night a little bit. We hit that $101 level and bounced off of it really hard. That means that there were a lot of buyers that were coming in at that level. We know that the double-digit level was something that many people were looking at buying for. So most people probably put it in a little bit higher than that $100 level to make sure that they got their buys in, and because of that, it never actually hit the $100 level. We're now at that next resistance level of $122. Pre-market, we're up a little over 1%, pushing close to it again. So what can we expect? As we discussed last night, we're looking at these bounces at this level. We've bounced off of it once. Yesterday was a second bounce, and we look like we're pushing into it again for a second day in a row. So the question will be, are we going to break this or not? We have CPI data coming out on Thursday. That could be the catalyst to break us through this. We have a lot of different levels in the entire macro environment that are all right at these very similar levels. It's either we're going to break out and come out of this, or we're going to break down and fall further. I have a feeling the CPI is going to be the catalyst behind this. And now for CPI expectations, we are expecting a 6.5% year-over-year number. Last month we had a 7.1%, and that beat expectations. We also had a 0.1% month-over-month. This is a more important number right now because last year we had high inflation. So we really want to track to make sure that we're actually tracking forward in a lower inflation rate. So with a 0.1%, that equates to 1.2% annualized inflation, which is below the number of 2% that the Fed is looking for. This is a very good sign. So the forecast for this month is also 0.1%. So if we can continue to come in at 0.1% or lower, this is going to be a great sign for the Fed that inflation is coming in line. So now when we start looking at whether Tesla is going to be at the bottom or not, whether $100 was the bottom, a lot of it does have to do with the macro environment as well. We're getting some good news coming out of Tesla as of late. With their price cuts coming out of China, orders are up. It sounds like they've got about 30,000 orders in the last 3 days since they did these price cuts. That's incredible. But when it comes to the macro environment, that has obviously been weighing heavily on us all year long. Last week, we got the jobs report that came in, and the numbers were good. So we like to see these numbers. That gave us an indication that we are moving in the right direction, and the Fed might actually be able to give us this soft landing that they've been talking about. So now we have the CPI this week. It's really going data point to data point. And on the 18th, we are going to be getting the PPI, that is the Producer Price Index. That usually is a leading indicator as to what we could see for the CPI. Now last month, the PPI came in a little bit hot, but it wasn't really a big deal. We're still moving down in the right direction. So does that mean that CPI might come in hot as well? We seem to be on this cusp right now. It sounds like the market is anticipating a beat with the CPI, which could in turn give us a little bit of a rally. So if we continue to push this rally higher and Tesla does break through this $122 level, we're then looking at that $137 level afterwards. If we get to that level, then we'll be bouncing between 122 because that now has been proving to be a very strong resistance, which in turn will leave it as a very strong support afterwards. We can then hit that $137 level and see where we trade from there. Now again, we do have big tech earnings coming in at the end of the month, followed by the FOMC meeting. So is this going to be a dead cat bounce? A little bit of a bull trap? Not really sure. Previously I had said that, looking at the 3 different levels of what could be the bottom for me based upon the information I had, I was looking at the $100 level being, if all things went well, we got all good numbers, earnings came in good, the macro environment was strong, I think $100 levels was going to be the bottom. If we did not get all of the numbers to align properly, we would see $80 as a bottom. If all of the numbers came in bad, we would see $57 as a bottom. So those are the 3 levels that I'm paying attention to, and if we do not break through this $122 level, I do think we end up bouncing down again, potentially reaching $100. That could be because maybe CPI comes in a little bit hotter. So maybe we hit that 122, bounce down, and then we end up falling down to that $100 level again. And then we just wait for the next data point, which is going to be the PPI. Then a week after that is earnings. Then a week after that is the FOMC meeting. So for the next month, it's going to be a rocky road because there are just data points every single week that we will be paying attention to. Now, of course, big tech earnings also could weigh down the entire market, which in turn will bring down Tesla. The reason this happens is because when it comes to big tech, a lot of institutions own these. So if we see those earnings come down, big tech in turn drops all of their fund levels. That in turn brings down Tesla because Tesla is in some of those funds. So it will just naturally come down along with the entire market. So these are just the things that I am watching along the way. So is that 101 level the bottom? We just need to wait and see. Again, I think it will be if we end up getting all good numbers. If CPI number comes in good, PPI number comes in good, earnings don't drag us down, we have good earnings for Tesla, and then the FOMC meeting we get what we are expecting, $100 might actually be the bottom. But obviously nothing is guaranteed, so we're just going to pay attention to this and see if the Fed is going to give us a rug pull at the FOMC meeting and drag us down further. Now I wanted to do a quick follow-up for last night. Berkshire Hathaway had sold some shares and we were questioning as to how much they still had left. Sounds like they do still have billions of dollars invested in BYD, but they did come under 14% ownership. So they have dropped down, and we'll see what Berkshire does from here. So the next news that we have is coming from Tao Lin. She is Tesla China's VP. Lots of great information coming out from her, discussing what is going on with the price reductions over in China. So as we had explained before, they said it was because supply chain costs have come down. So he dove into it and explained a little bit further. What it comes down to is something that Elon had spoken about previously is, when they were going up on prices, they look further out and take a look at what the costs are going to be for all of their supplies. So when they saw that the prices were going up because of supply chain issues, their demand was also going up, they then raised prices. Now Elon has been anticipating and seeing that these prices have been coming down for all of their supplies. So based on this information, forward-looking, they see supply chain issues alleviating. They see that all the COVID restrictions over in China are lifting as well. This is going to help the supply chain come back to normal. With the supply chain coming back to normal and prices coming down, this will allow Tesla to come down on the prices as they have, and over time it will smooth itself out. Don't forget, because they're looking further ahead, maybe right now because of the costs that they have, because of some contracts that are locked in, they might not get as high of margins. But as we get further down the road and their costs come down, margins will in turn be going back up again. So where the margins are at right now, we don't know. We need to wait for earnings to be able to see all of that. But it seems like they are planning ahead for what is looking at supply chain issue prices coming down. This is why they brought down the prices of their vehicles. And as we saw, 30,000 orders in 3 days is making a significant difference. So that there will end up turning into bigger profits on the bottom line. And when it comes to all the protesters and the people who were complaining about prices coming down and how they missed prices, they're explaining how it's a new business model when it comes to selling vehicles. This is actually better for consumers because it's totally transparent. Instead of, going out to a dealership, sitting down with them and haggling over a price and not knowing if you're actually getting a better price than the guy sitting next to you, every price is open. This is it. This is what you get. This is what we're selling it for. There's no haggling. You get the same price that everyone else is paying. So yes, it could be discouraging because of the fact that, hey, the prices came down overnight, but that's what it is. It's like, hey, prices came down. It's like doing a sale at a store. No different. Everybody's going to be paying those same sale prices. That's just what it is. If a price goes up, you got a better deal yesterday. If the price comes down, so you missed out. Doesn't sound like Tesla is going to be working with any of these customers as of right now because that's like, prices came down, it is what it is. We're sorry that timing changed, but we are totally 100% open and transparent about pricing, and they believe that this model going forward is going to be the best for consumers, and consumers are going to appreciate this over the dealership haggle model. And when it came to the question as to whether they were bringing down prices due to demand, they said, no, we have a model where you can see very transparently what they have in inventory, and then there's a lot of vehicles that are in transport. So between those two, we know what is going on with Tesla's inventory. Not all of the manufacturers are like that. If you guys can let me know in the comments below how many vehicles BYD has in inventory, that would be awesome. I don't know if they reflect that, if they show it anywhere, but if you guys do know and can share it, please do. And Ezra Rachaga over on Twitter also broke down some other things that were said. The entire article was written in Chinese. I cannot read this, I could not find a translation, but Ezra also broke down some of the things that she debunked. She debunked that Tesla is not making mobile phones in China, debunked the Model 2 or compact car rumor, debunked again that they were cutting costs due to demand issues, and debunked that they are building a second factory over in China. Now, of course, we know that Tesla China has not always given us the full truth, so, I'm going to still take this with a grain of salt. It's almost like Reuters, you can't fully believe everything that they're saying, but, they're not going to come out and say these things. If they do have a second factory that maybe is what's going to take this 9,000-ton gigapress, maybe that's where they're going to be running the Gen 3 platform, they're going to keep that secretive. They don't want everybody to know about this. So they could come out and say, no, this isn't happening, and then, hey, it did happen. But these were the rumors that were being debunked by Tao Lin. And now we also did get the weekly insured numbers coming out from Moneyball, showing that we came in at just over 2,000 vehicles insured for last week. And we do have to remember, the first month of a quarter, Tesla is focused heavily on going with exports. Now, we did just hear about these 30,000 orders that were put in over the last few days, so we will see if that translates into insured vehicle numbers for next week. So these are just things that we are watching, not sure, again, the number being this low isn't a huge concern because, again, they're focused on exports. So we will just see how this number plays out over the following months now that we are seeing the prices coming down, and we'll see how that reflects in their domestic sales. So overall, it is a good start to the week. Let's not forget that we do have Friday the 13th coming up this week. I think this whole month of January is just going to be kind of questionable. But I do think that we are going to end up finishing positive at the end of this year. I don't think we are going to see the negatives this year like we saw in 2022. Us falling 70% over the course of the year is pretty dramatic. I cannot fathom us dropping another 70% this year, especially considering the Fed is going to be pausing on the rates. So the money that was coming out of the market will start coming back in by the end of the year, and it will naturally go towards the best companies that will come out of this. Tesla is going to be one of the best, if not the best company coming out of this, and a lot of institutions are going to want to invest there. Don't forget, we also have Moody's that is most likely going to be giving them their investment grade rating for credit. That should be coming after Q4 earnings. So with that, we will then have a lot more institutions that can then put money into the stock itself. I don't think it's going to be that they put out the rating and then all of a sudden it takes off. As Alexandra explained to us previously, it takes some time. They have to go through the different voting processes with all these different institutions. So it could take about a year or so for that to kind of work its way into the stock price. But that's not a bad thing because that gives us more time to be able to buy at these prices before institutions start dumping larger sums in and really pushing the stock price up. Just as a reminder, we will be having Alexandra on here on Friday discussing all sorts of things. So if you guys want to ask her any questions, please put them in the comments below and I will add them to the list to ask her on Friday. And then I will also be on Peggy's channel on Saturday discussing all things Tesla, so we will discuss it there. I'll share that link with you guys as soon as I get it from him. Otherwise, I just want to thank you guys all so much for your support. I will see you in the next one.